When I was very little, I had a banking book with the Halifax Building Society. This was my first bank account, and it was a little blue book. It was a little savers book, and it only ever held my my pocket money, which I got each week, I think, and then month as I got older, from my parents. In 1998 I began working myself. That was my first employment, and I was doing a paper round. And on the 15th of November 1999 I closed down my Halifax savers, and I opened my NatWest banking account with £27. That's all I had in my little Halifax Building Society. Anyway, that and this, if you can possibly see it, I don't know, is my bank statements, my monthly bank statements that go all the way from there all the way through London, all the way through university, and they end here on the 5th of July 2010, which was last year. Fear not though, because in this one I have this year's banking details, and they are not very pretty, I'm afraid. Now, what happened basically is that during university I managed to stay above board by having 2 accounts, and when I left university that became impractical, and we merged the 2 accounts into one, and we went down to London. London was a complete nightmare financially that I had not prepared for, and I left London at the back of my overdraft, and basically with a maxed out credit card. And so from about 2005 to 2009, basically I was working myself out of debt by living off £30 a week, and that was for everything. Now, I know what some people are going to say, oh yes, but didn't you go to the US twice during that time? Yes, I did. And they will say, yeah, and didn't you go to London once during that time? And didn't you go to, you know, a load of cage gladiator events in Liverpool? Yes, yes, I went to all of that. On money that wasn't mine. Or should I say on money that was mine, but money that was given to me by other members of my family. I got inheritance money from my nan, who is still alive, to go on the first American Dreams tour and the second American Dreams tour, which happened in 2007 and 2009. I had money from my parents to go to UFC 70 in Birmingham, to go to UFC 85 in London in 2008, and to go to many of the cage gladiator things. Unfortunately, I live off actually a very, very poor wage indeed, considering that I am on my own, and that's part of the problem. A lot of people my age are still living with their parents. They are not self-supporting. I am self-supporting just. Most people who are self-supporting my age are either in a couple or they're married, in which case even on my wage they're getting double in. So that's the basis of it. I have lived in Granville here since 2006, since about February 2006. And last year I spontaneously booked to go to UFC 120 as well as going to Blackpool, and that set me back into the red a little bit. I worked myself out of the red again earlier this year, in fact, and then catastrophe. The benefits that I was getting to do with housing, which helped with paying the rent, have stopped. Now, I want to make it clear that I begin every month and I end every month with about £200 in the blue. Outside of that amount, outside mid-month, I can sometimes be nearly £500 in the red. So, judging on that, you might want to ask me how the hell I am planning on living for the rest of the year, and not only that, how can I possibly think of planning more holidays, and how am I managing to save? These were all questions that I was going to address in the 2 weeks that I have off on holiday very shortly. But they actually came up this afternoon in debates and discussions with my parents, and we sought a way forward. No, I am not getting inheritance money. That is all gone, more or less now. So this is what I'm doing. I am announcing in this blog now that I am going to be taking a 3-day holiday in my home city of Lincoln this October. More news on when exactly that is next year. Sorry, next week. That is going to set me back possibly £100, and that I'm using my own money for that, and I am just doing it. So there we are. Out of the question, I'm doing it. The States tour is another thing entirely. As you know, I have been saving up for that, and I have run into a lot of problems with this, in that I have had unexpected expenditure. This includes, unfortunately, the extra amount I'm having to pay for the gym because the hydro changed my deal. It involves things like my teeth and getting all the stupid fillings that I don't think I really need, but my dentist assures me every single time that I go in I do need. And I am not convinced that he's doing it properly either, because he's had to redo several already. Anyway, and it also includes terrible charges to do with the holiday itself, like the renewal of the passport and stuff like that. So most of my money has gone. So doing it out of savings is really only going to be enough for spending money. So how am I going to get there? Well, what I've done is I have cut down my my idea. I was originally going to go across to New York. I was then going to go down to Florida possibly, across to Alabama, and then all the way on a sort of road trip, you might like to call it, although it would be by rail, through New Mexico, maybe through parts of Utah, maybe through Arizona, all the way to Nevada, and then come out on the West Coast and do the major cities there, San Francisco and stuff like that. And then I would fly back to New York by way of Chicago and go home. That, of course, was going to be a 3-week jolly in March in honour of my 30th birthday. Now, I am going to be lucky if I get 3 days, but there we are. What am I doing? I am doing New York and I am doing New Jersey, and that is it. And I have to say that this will be the last States tour I do, certainly in the next 5 years, I would have thought, if not more. part of the reason is that there's a dual function, well there's a triple function really for going to the US. The first is, of course, it's a nice place to go on holiday and I like to see what the US has to offer. The second is it's a good place for mixed martial arts, and I have visited a lot of gyms there as well. The third reason, and this is the reason that is sort of declining really, and that's that because I'm a moderator on Matt Hughes forum, and because it's an online American forum really, there are forum patrons all over the US, and it's nice to be able to put names and see people who I've spoken to every day. But of course the future of Matt Hughes forum is, well, I would say it's probably in doubt. Matt Hughes will eventually retire, and he has been talking about it for the last year and a half, in fact. The forum is on the decline at the moment, and will it last 5 years until I can next afford to go back to the US? I very much doubt it. So it's now or never, which is why I have decided not to cancel it altogether, but I'm going to New York and New Jersey for maybe 4 days, maybe a week, depending on how cheap the accommodation is and how cheap the flights are. How am I doing this then with no money? Well, we have talked about this, and to be totally honest, what I am going to do, unbelievably, is max out my credit card. I am then going to transfer that money onto a zero interest account where I am going to pay it back, and if I haven't paid it back by the end of the year, we are going to move it again to another zero account card. So I can basically, and I have to say, when I'm talking about maxing out my credit card, I don't have like £5,000. You know, my limit is only just over £1,000. So I'm not talking about a huge amount of money, a huge amount of financial money. It's a huge amount of money for me, but in terms of usually incurring debt through credit cards, it's pretty minor. So there we are. That is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it completely on credit. You might like to know that I do have a plan for paying it back, and we do in fact have a plan for saving to rebuild our savings that have gone anyway, and that really is coming from everything else. So we're cutting on-demand films altogether. We've downgraded our TV and our other services. We are not using gas at all during the winter seasons. We are downgrading on our birds. We are getting rid of 2 more zebra finches shortly, maybe. We are doing a lot of work in other areas. That means that we are living off if it's possible, to live off even less than we are doing right now. And the damage, I think, will be minimal, because once I have come back above board, I can then sort of go back to just doing £30 a week, which will then not seem quite so bad. But at the moment I need to get that money back.